Everybody gonna fight now. World's gonna say 2 words right now. Sun is out and it's nice out, but will it be so nice now with the lights out? Everybody gonna fight now. World's gonna say 2 words right now. Sun is out and it's nice out, but will it be so nice now?
Now, the U.S. says that Iran deeply involved in the Red Sea attacks on commercial vessels. Now, we, of course, don't know exactly what to believe when it comes to MSM on pretty much everything. But as far as this goes, what they are saying is that Iran is highly involved in almost all of the events that are going on in the Red Sea. Now, we have covered before how BP and Maersk and all of these other companies are suspending service through the Red Sea, thus affecting supply chains. Huge companies are losing millions, if not into the billions of dollars by not doing so, because it's taking, I think they said in some cases, it's taking weeks to actually a week's delay to get around the Red Sea. As you can see, weeks can turn into a whole lot of money. We know when that one ship was actually stopped and stuck sideways, even just a few hours, each hour that it happened, it was losing millions of dollars. So I have no idea what it's costing them or if it's costing them at all, but it sounds like it's very expensive for this to happen. And now they're saying Iran-backed Houthis, who say that their attacks are in support of Palestinians under siege by Israel in the Strip, have targeted commercial shipping in the Red Sea with drones and missiles, forcing shippers to change course and to take longer routes around the southern tip of Africa. It says, quote, "We know that Iran was deeply involved in planning of the operations against commercial vessels in the Red Sea. This is consistent with Iran's long-term material support and encouragement of the Houthis' destabilizing actions in the region," White House National Security spokeswoman Adrienne Watson said in a statement. It says this is an international challenge that demands collective action. Just those words alone can tell you exactly where this may be headed, right? It says this is an international challenge, meaning this is affecting the whole world, that demands collective action. Everybody needs to jump in. We're going to talk about this and so much more. A tabletop exercise is coming up, and you will probably guess what it is about. Usually these tabletop exercises have something to do with what's about to happen. So we'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
Everybody gonna fight now. World's gonna say 2 words right now. Sun is out and it's nice out, but will it be so nice now with the lights out? Everybody gonna fight now. World's gonna say 2 words right now. Sun is out.
All right, thank you, Richard Koschmeider. Thank you so much for the super chat there at the breaking open the show. Thank you so much. We're going to do a quick roll call here in just a second. Thank you to everybody in chat. Again, Teresa Byan, Karen Rax, we've got Viv B, we've got all sorts of great people in the chat, including our wonderful mods. Thank you, members, Leslie Lindsay, Richard Koschmeider, Trusted Source, Stephen McMahon. We've got Hodad 3000, Lola Cafe, thank you. I responded to your super thanks on the other show. Thank you so much, and I appreciate everybody that has been supporting us through this year. It has been a really insane year, to say the least. Obviously, we've got a lot of crazy news coming out pretty much every day. Today, it's kind of weird because there were some really big sleeper stories that happened Other than that, it's one of those days. It's right before the holidays, so it's going to be a slightly shorter show because we only made sure to really show you the really important stuff. Let's see here. We've got Sandpoint, Idaho in the house. Thank you. Let's see here. James McGowan. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Nancy G. We've got Louisiana in the house. We've got Northeast Texas, Frankenprepper, Carolina Squad with Trusted Source. We've got member Genius by Birth from Southwest Idaho. Thank you so much. Victoria, Australia. A Hobbit. Thank you. Hello from Alaska. We've got Dwayne Roberts from Fort Wayne, Indiana. We've got Utah in the house. We've got Willard, Ohio. And we've got Central Wisconsin. We've got the OHIO folks in the house. And we've got Karen from South Wales, UK. Nice to see you, Warped World. And Anne-Marie, Lisa Douglas, 2A Carrier, and everybody else. By the way, thank you, everybody that has turned in your videos to play my video. You still have, again, we were going to cut it off today, but if you do want to straggle in over the next day, please get us those videos. If you have a 15 to 20-second video just saying Merry Christmas, you can go to the tab on our website, play my video. Other than that, if you want the full bibliography for today's show, we're going to talk about the EarthX Live, or the EarthX Live 2024. It is a tabletop exercise going over hacking. It's all very, very disturbing. That is on the webpage. So we always end up putting not only the links to all of the articles, tweets, videos, pictures, documents, but also if there are press releases, if there are documents you need to see, PDFs or pictures or something that is vital to the sources of our show, it's all going to be over on marfoogle.com. Now, when you go there, all you have to do is look for today's thumbnail, new creepy tabletop exercise, EMP, GMD, and cyber attacks. Oh my, an ode to Wizard of Oz there. And you will see all of that right at your fingertips. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
Thank you. Also, we've got people from Motor City. We've got the Republic of Texas. Merry Christmas, Marv, says Stagerwood. Thank you. And Love Mobley. Love Mobley. Thank you. Says good evening. Thank you, everybody, for making it to tonight's show. Thank your mods, mostly, by going over to marfooglenews.com/friends. They have all sorts of content, books on Amazon, links on YouTube and Patreon. We've got, of course, people on Twitter. So make sure to go check out all their links. They do a great service for the Foogle family. They, of course, help all of the members, navigate. And, of course, they help everybody with their awesome information that most all of them put out. They all have their own YouTube channels and content. So go check them out. All right. And then, Dex, as far as the Pentagon is alarmed over a huge price tag of countering cheap Yemeni drones. We actually talked about this. Dex, do you want to cover why they have a concern?
Yeah. So as things continue to ramp up in the Red Sea area, like we were just talking about in the opener there, which, by the way, they said there was and I added another article, guys, if you want to go see it on the website, about a spy ship that was there that was actually giving the information to the Yemeni armed forces, or the Houthis, however you want to refer to them. But look, they send these drones over and they cost them, not that much, like a couple $1,000, at best. And then we're shooting off, very, very expensive pieces of equipment to take them down. So, when we're spending that, up to $1 million a launch on some of these rockets, that's a pretty expensive ratio. So talk about, even if they don't think they can damage us, like let's just say the extreme people there that are doing it would, in their mind, they're like, yeah, it'd be nice if we could hit the ship, but we know we can't. All they're saying is, look at how many dollar bills we're wasting of America by launching every one of these $2,000 drones. We just send a $2,000 drone up and it cost them $1 million. Send another one up and it cost another. So yeah, that's pretty draining. And I think the Pentagon, which has said this before, because we saw this in UKR, is like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to spend all this money to take those down when they're so inexpensive. And that's why they've been going after building new laser systems, new EMP devices that they're talking about creating that they can shoot into a swarm or shoot at drones and take them down, that don't cost nearly the amount of money we're wasting on all of these missiles that we shoot up to take down these small drones.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense as far as the where technology is and where the detecting technology is. They can put up a satellite. 1 out of 4 of the Starlinks are supposed to have supposedly technology that can detect a hypersonic object. How do they not have the technology then to knock down these stupid little drones? You would think that they would have. I mean, shoot, instead of a missile knocking that drone out, what about some sort of net weapon or something? I don't know. I'm sure that there's a problem with all of this, and there's actual scientists and PhDs that have worked on this, and they're stumped on it, right? I'm just surprised with where technology it is that these drones are such a hassle. Now, these drones are not even the ones we're talking about in the future, the near future. If you have not seen swarm drones in action, some of you may have, because now they have swarm drones doing like 4th of July celebrations, drones that have lights and that do these intricate shows for 4th of July and for New Year's Eve. You can only imagine if those were weaponized, if there was an explosive on all of those. If you've seen this in real life, it is quite amazing. I wouldn't say it's as cool as fireworks. It's actually cool in its own way. It's cool in a different way. It's actually cooler in a different way. But at the same time, when you understand how many are up there to make these giant displays as big as a downtown area, think about those strapped with explosives on them. Dex, go ahead.
And they also said that it's been 38 of these that we've taken out, and the highest price tag is $4.3 million per shot. That's like $163 million for a handful, a small truck of these little bitty drones. That's crazy money.
Yeah, that's way too much money. There's a picture here of basically how crude they are. You can see it looks like a lawnmower engine. They are made at about $2,000 each. When you consider, $1 million to $4.3 million each. Like Dex said, that's hundreds of millions of dollars so far on 38 of these things. And then we have container rates hit $10,000. I don't know if you remember, but we covered this back when it was a big deal that they went up to, what was it? No, maybe it wasn't. During CV, I feel like they hit 30,000 during CV, but there was a difference there because it was about $2,500 or something per container or something at the time, and it went up to 30,000. It was such a huge increase because of CV, and we back then I specifically remember this because. Do you remember during CV when all of the stores, all of the shipping problems happened at that point? Do you remember when all the shipping containers were stuck off of the West Coast and all of these ships were in a line and it was a huge backup? Well, during that time, the shipping container price just skyrocketed, right? And the big question I asked is how Target and Fred Meyer and all of these big box stores, all of the same ones that stayed open the entire time during CV, all of the mom and pop places were not allowed to run. All of the big box places had their CEOs standing right next to the president saying, we're going to keep you guys going through this whole lockdown, and, we're going to make sure we're staying open, and we're going to close every night and clean and do all this. Nobody explained how they knew at the very beginning to line up their own container systems. And how Target is a great example. They hired a separate third, party shipping company that could keep running through the entire thing. And they had toys and stuff. And this is how people found out. They saw the toys were last year's toys. And this is, of course, back then. So there were year-old toys. So people realized they had these things ready at the very beginning. Almost like they got a heads up that there would be this container issue. So they ended up having all of this stuff lined up. So there's a lot of shady things, but what this affected was the price of the actual objects. if a company like Target pays, say, $3,000 in bulk for each container, and they're shipping an entire container of, say, linens or something, well, if now the containers are $10,000, that means they just tripled the cost of traveling that linen from Japan or China or wherever it's coming from, and that they are going to then pass on to the customer. They sure as heck aren't going to take the hit, right? So we're going to see prices go up because of this. They actually did go back down. Now they're back up. It says with the Red Sea diversions by shipping companies, including Maersk, continuing amid the risk of attacks by the Houthis, global logistics managers are faced with a two-front storm of rising ocean and air freight prices. One thing I think of is because we have not had a break in the last couple of years as far as financially, everybody is struggling right now. It is now trending almost every day on Twitter or any platform. You see these videos of young people saying, I don't understand how people live. I can't work 2 jobs and even pay my rent and this and that. Those are trending videos so much so that it is now become part of culture that we all talk about. It's like we used to go, hey, how's the weather? Oh, it's chilly out here. To, gosh, that's expensive. I don't know if you've noticed it, but people in line at the grocery store go, oh my gosh, how much is that? Oh, and then everybody starts chatting like, oh, eggs are $9? Oh my gosh. It has become part of culture. And I hate to say it, but people have almost, just kind of been desensitized to these prices. But unfortunately, this is all somehow, a lot of this is either orchestrated or it is happening by decisions that everybody is making. These are decisions that they're making that costs us extra money, not to mention giving billions of dollars to other countries. How do you guys feel about paying extra money because of this freight ordeal? I would think that, I would think something would happen with this where they could figure out, I mean, heck, if we sent $60 billion towards, some sort of slush fund so the American people wouldn't be affected by this, that would be great, wouldn't it? But of course that's not going to happen. They're going to send $60 billion to other countries instead of, I don't know, putting it back into the pot and doing something with that money to where it makes it easier for Americans to live. And I understand there's people watching from all over the world, but I'm sure you guys are going through the same thing. This is a global issue. Them at $10,000 per container is now raising all of the prices. Before we move on, one thing that if everybody's struggling, but if you can save up and get an EMP shield, this is a device, again, that not only protects you against EMPs and CMEs, which we'll be talking about tonight. There's even more chatter about this. There is a way to protect yourself. So we're not just showing you the problem. We are also giving you a solution for it. Go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. This is the same company that's been outfitting agencies like DHS, DOD, and the DEMSO team. So, of course, the military and government are outfitting themselves with this kind of protection. Meanwhile, civilians are completely clueless to the fact that if an EMP or even a natural CME, which will happen at some point, that our grid will go down and your cars will go down and everything will start, going down. But there is ways to protect against that. This EMP shield will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device, your car, your truck, your generators, your home, your ham radio, your solar systems. Any one of the above has a specific device to protect it against. It's very easy to put in, red to red on your battery, black to black on your battery, and then green to ground to part of your car frame, and then you're set up. In about 10 minutes, you can protect yourself against not only EMPs, lightning, but also CMEs or a Carrington level event from the sun. We are now in the peak, getting to the peak of solar cycle 25, so it's definitely a good idea. You're going to save $50 off per device, and you're going to help our independent channel at the same time. Thank you guys for doing so. We appreciate it. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. Dex, so this is nuts. So they're doing yet another tabletop exercise. And with every other tabletop exercise, we have seen similar events happen in real life. Or we've seen these right before that similar event happened in real life. A good example would be I don't know, the tabletop exercise that was done right before CV. What about this? And by the way, let's credit the right person. This was actually brought to our attention by longtime Foogle family member, and again, somebody who's been with us for a very long time, who went through martial law, who actually told her story about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was such a popular show. It went crazy because people could not believe what she had gone through with Hurricane Katrina. But I did want to give credit to Able Bodied. She is the one who brought this to our attention. Dex, what the heck is up with EarthX Live 2024?
Yeah, so this is coming from the EIS Council, which is the Electric Infrastructure Security Council, and they are hosting this forum and exercise and a bunch of speakers and stuff, and they are going over, and the big question they're asking is, are you prepared for an EMP, a GMD, which is the term they use in that line of the work, which is geomagnetic disturbance. You can call that a CME, a solar flare, or just the magnetic sphere not working correctly. Either all of those would fall into that category of GMD, or a cyber attack. So they're putting this exercise together, and it's interestingly happening on January 11th, 1/11, and it's starting at 11 Eastern time. Not that those numbers mean anything. It just seems kind of funny that 11, 11, and 11 is all there. But anyway, nonetheless, this is happening. It's an event that they're putting together to bring experts. If you if you can click on the About tab at the top of their page, you can learn more about who they are, more specifically, and who they're targeting. But the EIS council staff includes former state emergency managers, industry leaders, government officials, and partners with the critical utilities and infrastructure, academic institutions, technology providers, and as well as volunteer organizations around the world. The EIS Council is founders come from the U.S. aerospace industry. They worked with NATO and the U.S. and the U.K. and other governments, et cetera. So this is not just a small group. This is a very important group, and they're getting together and bringing together people in the industry around this exercise. Yes, it is an event you can go register for and participate in. I don't know what the costs are. And we're not really the target. They're targeting, people in the industry. But it is designed specifically to have these speakers about these types of issues, but also to go through this exercise that they talk about across the grid.
Now, this is also being called let me go back to it, a black sky event scenario. That's what it says it will bring together panels of experts from 3 sectors to play out their take on a black sky event scenario. A black sky event. Now, they name these things all sorts of nefarious names, but that sounds pretty creepy. A black sky event. Black sky event. If there's any side meaning, let me know in the chat or in the comments if you connect the dots to anything crazy on that. But it's pretty self-explanatory. Like, sounds pretty creepy. Black sky, no light, right? Go ahead, Dex.
Yeah, I was going to say if you go back to the About page and scroll down and click on the president, Avi Schnur. I'm sure I'm butchering his last name, but his bio, he's been to a lot of places and been involved in a lot of things, I guess I should say. It's the top of all the people. Yeah, that EIS executive director.
Yeah, there's some of these names are recognizable because some of these folks were part of other huge tabletops. So this is something to pay attention to. One thing that we want to point out is a lot of the reasoning behind when they do these huge kind of tabletop exercises is because they are responding to something. It's usually trying to come up with solutions to a problem that either they have or they may have in the near future. So there are a lot of signs right now that they are preparing for a huge hacking, cyber, or some sort of EMP or CME event. That's been that should be a fact at this point. There's enough drills, there's enough exercises, there are enough military exercises going on with this exact scenario in mind that it should be considered a fact that this is a big possibility. There's DHS warnings. Of course, DHS put the EMP resilience report out. They said this is one of the higher risk scenarios compared to all of the other kind of, really, really bad catastrophic events. Dex, go ahead.
Well, and let's not forget, right now on the table, so to speak, is the most recent information that's come out that's informed us that China has actually infiltrated our infrastructure, and that would more than likely mean into our electrical grid. And that's one of the biggest things we have to worry about from a cyber point of view. Let's also not forget that their proxies, when I say I mean China and Russia's proxies, meaning North Korea and Iran, have both launched vehicles and put objects into the sky. Some, including North Korea, have had rumors or there's information that's leaked out that says they do have the capability and maybe already even have it in the sky, orbiting around Earth for an EMP. And I call it the proxies because I really think that when that time comes, it's my opinion that they would use one of those proxies to do it as opposed to themselves. The cyber part would be a little different because that can easily be deflected and proven that it necessarily wasn't them. It could look like a different group. But that, to me, I think the threat of those two types of actions on our country, cyber and electromagnetic pulse from a high altitude electromagnetic pulse, we've got the evidence right there that they've already outlined and laid out the groundwork to do this and do this against us at any time.
And of course, there's threats right now currently that FBI and DHS are saying. And of course, many people are brushing it off. They don't believe FBI or DHS or any of those. But at the same time, it is better to know something may happen than be completely oblivious. If you watch our channel, you're always going to know about these kind of things before they happen. And in the small chance that they do happen, you're going to be more prepared, even if it's just mentally. There's a lot of you that still haven't. I still get emails from people saying, I can't prep or I can't afford to prep right now. We can barely keep food in our fridge regularly, let alone get extra food, right? So with this, one thing that you will have a huge advantage of if you've been watching our show will be mentally being prepared for this to happen. If you hear about these things, if you're talking about these things, if you're thinking about them, you are naturally going to be running through these scenarios in your head, and you will be 100% better off than somebody who does not even know they exist. That's for sure. That's a guarantee. That's easy to say. But as far as, and then a lot of you are super prepped now. So whether it be a huge event or whether it be a regional, storm or a fire or whatever it may be, you're going to be better off than most people. I'm hoping, and I really hope there's absolutely nothing from here to Christmas Day. But for the last week, they've said that right now we're at extremely high risk. And we also know that we're at higher alert. You can tell how high an alert is when you see not only government, military, but school systems all responding extremely fast and extremely over the top to any threat. Normally, if somebody does a prank call to a school system, they'll clear it by midday. Everything's okay. Recently here in Washington, and now that I've talked to the Foogle fam about this, several people have come out from different states and said that they are responding to civil threats to state governments, to FBI offices, to all of these different places. They are responding by closing down whole places, evacuating whole places. They are taking it seriously, or at least that is what we are seeing their actions do, right? So somebody calls in a prank call to this or that. Normally they go, oh, it's no big deal. Now you're seeing whole school systems and whole school districts shut down for days on end. This has now happened, and it's not in the news. It's, barely, it's talked about by locals in Facebooks across the country, but it's not getting coverage. And I don't understand why. Well, I do understand why. They don't want people to panic. I'm sure I have a lot of faith that nothing is going to happen from here to Christmas. But if something does, you would have had some sort of warning. You would know that this is a possibility. Thank you, by the way. Thank you, everybody, for popping over, by the way. Thank you, everybody over on DLive that is already packed in. And thank you. By the way, I saw who did that. JR Pale Horse. Thank you for gifting out badges on YouTube. That was very nice of you. And thank you, and thank you. Let's see here. And Genius by Birth, thank you again for gifting badges as well. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. And the Pentagon releases sweeping guidance on reducing civilian harm. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin directed the overhaul in fall of 2022 after a number of instances of civilian people perishing in U.S. military operations. The Pentagon on Thursday released official guidance providing sweeping changes to reduce harm to civilians from U.S. military operations, a year after Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin ordered the overhaul. The Defense Department instruction comes in response to a series of high-profile instances of U.S. military operations killing civilians in recent years. Among other changes, it directs senior DoD civilian and military leaders to each identify a senior official or flag officer to lead their organization's efforts relating to mitigating civilian harm, with the aim of embedding the new ethos across the department and geographic combatant commands. The guidance, signed by Austin himself, cements the changes the secretary had called for last fall into policy and protects them from removal by future administrations. Hence, they might not have a lot of faith that JB is going to win again, right? It says, but the guidance also comes at an awkward time for DoD amid international uproar over Israel's use of U.S.-provided weapons to bombard the Strip. It has rolled out via press release on Thursday before Christmas as pressure builds on President JB to scale back military aid to Israel. The U.S. DoD is placing, quote, new requirements on how American forces are to protect civilians in conflict, just as Israel has taken 20,000 civilians in the Strip with American bombs. So, with a lot of this, it's actually it's kind of surprising. So, civilian casualties have obviously always been a part of any kind of conflict. I just wonder, Dex, what do you think that the side thing on this could be? What do you think? Where do you think that this could this lead into something else?
I almost think that it was like, let's rush and get this out because we've got a bad face right now, and they're trying to when you saw that vote, that UN vote where everyone either abstained or voted against us. There was like 5 countries that voted with us and when it came to stopping or doing the ceasefire, and we were the only ones that said no, keep going. And I think that maybe part of this is a way to sort of get back some of that lost love, if you want to call it that, from these other countries that we're falling out of hand with because of our position, our strong supporting position with is. So maybe that's part of it, because like this was an initiative that started before this event happened, and now all of a sudden there's a rush to put it out. Like, oh look, we're doing this. We're gonna, this is very important. Like they don't normally do this stuff that fast. They say they're gonna do something, and it takes 2 or 3 years before they come out with it. So for them to turn around and bring it out now, it's sort of it just seems like it's maybe a little bit of lip service for the public opinion of the U.S. I could be wrong though.
Yeah, and they also add in that, we'll put in protections so Orange Man Bad can't change it, right? Hamas hostage Gadi Hagai confirmed first American perished by the terror group as Israel believes wife still captive in the Strip. So one of our own, an American, was just taken out as part of one of these hostages. You would think that this would be this is going to be a giant deal, but we'll see what ends up happening. It says an American Israeli has died after being held hostage by Hamas, and his wife remains in captivity. Gadi Hagai, 73, who has strong ties to New York, is the first U.S. citizen to be confirmed perished while being held hostage in the terror group. Now, he's in his 70s. They don't really, they say it was a murder. But this is what's so crazy is when they show these people getting released, I don't know if the people holding them hostage are saying, hey, when we send you off, maybe they're like, hey, there's a sniper on your head and you need to pretend like we've treated you really good and give us hugs as you go. It's almost more believable than what has actually been happening, which is every pair of hostages they've released has given their hostage takers hugs and kisses. In one case, the grandma gave the masked assailant a hug and a kiss and embraced them. Same with the other one. It's like, what the heck? Is that Stockholm syndrome? But they say his 70-year-old wife, Judith Weinstein, really, Hagee, is still believed to be hostage. The pair were ambushed and taken by armed earlier 7th as they took their morning walk outside of Kibbutz Ner Oz, their family told the New York Post. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering on that theory about why they're, whether it's Stockholm syndrome or something else. I wonder, and we won't know because we don't know who those people are that are masked, but I wonder if that's not a middleman, so to speak, that is part of the negotiations and they're thanking them for helping negotiate them out. There was somebody that was allowed to go into the bad guys area because they wouldn't let us, but escort them out because maybe the bad guys don't want to come out and face the fire, so to speak, right? So they use a middleman, or a middleman was used to do that. I don't know. It's just a thought, but it does seem really weird when you describe it that way, right?
Well, the one guy had a patch that was related to the thing, but that was on, I think, the first or second. I feel like it was the two Asian hostages. Was it? What did they release? Philippines? Two guys from the Philippines or something. One of them had one of the guys that they embraced had a patch on that signified that they were part of something, if I remember correctly. So, but like you could be right. If they were the middleman, that would explain
no matter
it.
what, right? I mean,
No,
it's strange no matter what.
it wouldn't be strange if you say if it's how you say it is. If that was the case, that would be
Stockholm syndrome could explain it too. Like both of those can explain it, but just to the normal person, like you see it and I see it, it's like, whoa, what are you doing? That's kind of strange. It's very strange.
Yeah. Even if they were being held in nice conditions, if they were in the Ritz, I would still not be happy about being held against my will. So I wouldn't be giving somebody a hug for releasing me. But maybe that's how they got released, is they kissed butt or something. But very unlikely. It's like, but if it does make sense the way you said it. If there was a third party and they're seeing somebody else's face besides the people holding them hostage, I would probably want to kiss them too. Thank you, Julie Pilkerton says, Merry Christmas, and remember, tomorrow is not promised. Stay in God's grace. God bless Marf, Dex, and the entire Foogle fam. Well, thank you, Julie, and God bless you as well. And I'm hoping that everybody has a Merry Christmas, and I hope everybody has a really, 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 really awesome Christmas with their families. If you don't have a family this Christmas, I am, of course, I hope that you do find something to do that's really fun. I've been alone on the holidays several times, especially in my mid-20s when I had no family around. And it is not fun, but there is always something out there that can, there's always something that you can go do. I do know I used to go get dinners at the shelter on a couple of those occasions, and I actually had really great dinners on a couple of those years. So I would highly recommend trying to find somebody to hang out with, because it's always depressing if you're not with family. I know a lot of people that live really far away from family. Try to at least get on some FaceTime or something. But I'm praying for everybody that you all have somebody wonderful to be around with Christmas. And then North Korea's reported use of a nuclear complex reactor might be an attempt to make bomb fuels. So to make the stuff to make the bombs. North Korea may have started operating a light water reactor at its main nuclear complex in a possible attempt to establish a new facility to produce bomb fuels, the UN Atomic Agency and outside experts said. If correct, the assessment would show that North Korea has taken a step to implement leader Kim Jong-un's repeated vows to build more nuclear weapons in response to what he described as intensifying U.S.-led military threats. The International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, has observed increased levels of activity at and near the light water reactor at the Yongbyon nuclear complex, and since mid-October, a strong water outflow from its cooling system was noticed. The observations were consistent with the commissioning of the reactor, Grossi said, from the IAEA. So this guy, by the way, is that a TV on top of an old TV? Do you remember Jeff Foxworthy? You might be a redneck. If you get a new TV and put it on top of your old TV, then you might just be a redneck. I don't know. Is that not PC anymore? Can you not call people rednecks? But that
us rednecks, we take offense to that.
If your grass is longer and taller than your cars, then you might be a redneck. I don't know if I'll get a copyright for telling his jokes, but those were the days. Gosh, I miss when movies, I don't know, it was in a time long ago, like Star Wars. Just this is so far away. Back when movies actually were able to tell jokes without worrying to offend. It was just so long ago. This is a different time, 2016. I miss those years. Actually, up until 2019, really. But then everything changed. Before we move on, make sure to go check out marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY, and go check out the solar generators. Again, this is one of the best solar generators on the market because it is not only expandable, but it's also modular. You can add in different mods. If there's any feature that it does not have, which it has most all that people need right off the bat, but if you want to add different features that come out over the years, and if technology progresses, they have made it to where you can add the bricks that are not batteries, but mods. So just like Lego, you can add batteries and you can add mods. You can make this whatever system you want. It's silent, which means nobody's going to hear it from 3 blocks away like a gas generator, and it can be run inside. Not to mention you don't have to store fuel. You just need to get yourself some solar panels. Now, before I got into, of course, solar generators, I knew nothing of it, and I thought that, I honestly thought a lot of misnomers like solar panels were crazy expensive. I would highly recommend getting their folding panels from them because they have handles you can just quickly grab and go. But it's not complicated at all. You plug one cord that is in the back of the solar panel right into the generator, and that's it. You don't have to do any crazy, you don't even have to turn anything on. You just plug it in and it starts giving it power. If you have multiple solar panels, you daisy chain them. As far as this unit, it's extremely easy to use and it can have unlimited power. You team this up with solar panels, you've got power every single day that the sun comes up. Even on days where the sun is covered, you still get power. So again, marfooglenews.com/energy. You also don't have to store gas or deal with gas stations during an SHTF. This also can be protected by an EMP shield. So this is something that's really awesome because you're going to have power even if we go through an EMP or a CME in the case of the fact you can protect it. It's one of the only solar generators you can get an EMP shield for. Also, they have their new tactical. This is a really strong unit by itself, but the tactical is even tougher. In fact, it's so tough that it is going to be shipping out with the U.S. Army. This tactical has built-in heaters to every battery. It's got a steel reinforced frame. It's got a 1,500-pound latch system. And of course, it was designed by the Air Force Research Laboratory and Energy in Coruscant. So it's a really awesome unit. It's dust and water resistant. It's the whole 9 yards. So if you want to go the full 9 yards with that, then you would want to go with the tactical. Both are available at marfooglenews.com/energy, and you will get a big discount and help our channel at the same time. That's again, marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY, and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. Dex, do you want to talk about the Japan and prepares for missile shipments after easing arms export restrictions?
Wow, that was quick, right? We just talked about how they were going to change this law that allowed them to ship their missiles that they were building, specifically for the Patriot system and others, but the Patriot air defense system, allow them to ship them to the U.S. In other words, Japan manufactures them, but they didn't have the legal rights to necessarily do anything with it, but keep them themselves, or there were certain light rights they had where they could ship certain components of it to some of the buyers. But what they're now allowing them to do is take the complete device and ship it to the U.S. They had to pass a law, change some stuff. They announced it earlier in the week, I think it was, when we first talked about it. Now they're literally packaging them up, putting them in boxes, so to speak, and shipping them to the U.S. That's how fast it's happening. So I guess that's the notion. Now, they're not allowed to send them directly to a place in conflict, but that's okay. There's loopholes for that. Basically send them to the U.S. and the U.S. will take its inventory and send it to UKR. And that's exactly what we expect to see happening here. So although they're not necessarily going directly to Kiev, the U.S. is welcoming the move, saying it will replenish the U.S. inventory. So there's twofold there. One, obviously we'll be giving a lot of it away to UKR. And number two, obviously we're low on our own resources that we're having to ask our ally who's been manufacturing it for themselves to send us theirs. So yes, we know both of those things because we've watched what has happened with the event in Europe as we continue to send every bit of our equipment, especially things that are very valuable like these Patriot systems.
You know what else we see, and this has been a theme for the last 2 months, all of these contracts, all of these weapon systems, all of these deliveries of things, all of the other countries that are helping us out and we're helping them out, all of these have happened at breakneck speeds. Now, most of you know the bureaucracy here slows everything down. It takes ages to do anything. Heck, if you call the police now, it will take 2 hours for them to get here, but that's a whole other show in itself. But as far as the government getting something done, normally isn't fast, but we have seen that. And what does that mean? Well, when it comes to wartime and things like this, it's pretty clear that something is coming because even if you just look at that sign alone, everything has been sped up. We have covered just this week about contracts that have been sped up from 2029 to 2024. We have seen contracts speed up from 2027 to 2025. We've seen contracts from 2032 sped up to just early 2024. So why are these being sped up? It's not too hard to connect the dots on that, especially some of the amphibious gear and the amphibious assault contracts and stuff like this. Breakneck speed. Microwave weapons, microwave defenses, sped up. Laser systems, sped up. And then night vision goggles. There's more news coming with that. I can't say anything yet because we have a Foogle Fam insider that works for one of the really big manufacturers of the tubes. Something is going on with that as well. And I'm sure soon that will be public. So once that is, it is going to be pretty mind-blowing. People are going to start to see a lot more very obvious signs that there is going to be a conflict very soon. By the way, if you have military in the family, go ahead and ask them. And I would love for you to come back and chat. If you have family that are in the military that are currently serving, you don't have to tell specifics, but you let us know in the chat or let us know in the comments. Have they told you to prepare for war? I think people are going to be surprised by the answer, or not surprised. We won't be surprised, but many of them are saying that their family members need to get ready for war. And what's crazy is we could shout this all day, every day. We could have as many people come on. People will not listen to it. If they sit across a table from somebody in full military garb saying, you need to get ready for war, we're about to go to war, they will get prepped that day. And that's what's crazy. And that's not going to happen because you can't get active military. You can't get, well, we have too, by the way. but people still don't pay attention to that. But in person, if you have a general or something like that tell you, hey, we're going to war, you need to get prepped. Of course, that person, if they were at a party or a Christmas party with that person, they would get prepped the next day. But if they read it in a newspaper, they won't, because they don't believe the newspaper. But if it was at a barbecue, like, oh, by the way, buddy, you need to have extra food, right away, people would get prepped. And that is what we are hearing every day from Fugel fam, active currently serving military. With the exception of a few, I've talked to a couple actively serving military guys, and I feel like they're purposely telling me not, because either they're saying it like because they want me to stop saying it. It's weird. I've gotten some weird messages lately too. One with a thing that led back to a Chinese website, and they were saying that they were a U.S. citizen. Like, okay, buddy. The company that they ran and owned was in China. Funky. You can't own a Chinese company if you're an American, especially if you're a currently serving military guy. But I'm not throwing shade on you, bud. And then Russia warns U.S. and Europe over reports Ukraine may get its seized assets. We talked about this yesterday. What they were talking about is all the funds and all the things that got frozen with all of the sanctions. And as this kicked off and as they went into Ukraine, they said, well, we've got to put sanctions. Well, now they're talking about giving or taking some of that money, taking some of the resources and things that they stopped and froze, and then redirecting that. Instead of we give our money, which I'm sure most taxpayers would be like, yeah, do that over anything else, directing their stuff to Ukraine, which I said last night, that's going to be a pretty big like FU, right? Dex, what was the response? This is like exactly what we expected the response to be.
Oh, yeah. He came out and said there's going to be serious consequences, including a tit-for-tat financial seizures or even bank break in diplomatic relations. He went on to specifically and say things like that the amount of $300 billion and that's been frozen. He said that, quote, realize that Russia will never leave those who do it alone. Now, think about this. The point of this entire thing is to say, hey, you're doing something we don't like. So we're going to seize this stuff until you stop doing what it is you don't like. If we start now, and the whole point is once you stop, we'll let you back in to play with all the other kids and their toys, right? You get your stuff back and you get to start playing again. But this will send a signal to the rest of the world that says, if we do a seizure like this, there is no coming back from it. In other words, if you're going to act up, you might as well act up all the way. You might as well go for broke, because you're not going to get an opportunity to recover. You're not going to get to do what typically happens when two countries have a conflict. The conflict will wage for a while, and then they will negotiate and come to terms where they both get something. And, eventually it's different than what it was beforehand. And I think that this is not, it's, certainly, we all say, yeah, let's just give them other money besides our pocketbook, right? So I don't want to come out of my back pocket. But at the same time, you got to understand, what is this going to mean for the global position when we try to turn around and say, sanction someone else for their bad behavior? They're going to immediately go, these sanctions are meaningless. You just stole it. We'll never see it again. So might as well act full force.
Part of the other quote from him says, the illegitimate seizure of our assets invariably remains on the agenda both in Europe and in America. Says this issue is unacceptable to us. Potentially, it is extremely dangerous to the global financial system. Is that a threat against, like, say, hacking the banking system? Which they're not a part of SWIFT and stuff, but we've already seen the Federal Reserve had a really, really odd event happen where nobody got their deposits. Every major bank was affected. Bank of America, U.S. Bank, Chase, all of the the big names all had KeyBank. Tons of different banks. Credit unions were affected, where nobody got their deposits for some people reported as long as 2 weeks. They said, "Oh, don't worry. The even though it doesn't show that it's in your bank account, like, it will be fixed eventually." But that didn't change the people that couldn't pay their rent, that are living paycheck to paycheck, and that money didn't go in on time. They say that most people are 1 or 2 paychecks away from being homeless. How could that not be more true right now than ever in at least my lifetime? I'm sure that, obviously some of you have lived through some other really, really tough recessions, but I don't think there's too many depressions, people living that are watching us right now. But most of you have probably gone through a pretty bad time in, this. But I don't feel, in my almost 40 years on Earth, I don't feel like it's ever been this crazy expensive and hard to live. How about you guys? Dex, can you remember in your lifetime ever it being, this expensive and just this kind of compared to what everybody makes and what, prices are on everything?
This feels a lot different than some of the last times, especially during those years. There was some, but it wasn't.
The
Didn't
2008.
feel this bad. Yeah, it didn't feel this bad. I mean, the housing stuff was, very difficult for some, and it's probably easier for those that weren't involved in that to sit back and say, yeah, I didn't feel it as much. But those that were involved in the housing, builders, contractors, real estate developers, and real estate agents, they all got hammered back then.
I've kind of told you guys this before, but I stayed over at my friend's house, and he was asked to house sit. We were only like 16, and he was like 17 at the time, but a really responsible kid, had a job for 2 years by then. We stayed in the richest, most fanciest house. At that time, they had like the fast internet, which at the time was like DSL or something, and it was like hundreds of dollars a month or something. And they had Napster. I remember that was the first time I was introduced to Napster. But their house was like super crazy haunted. And the story he told me, and it's true, after Microsoft and all of the thing happened in 2008, that they lost all of their savings and all their money. And the dad, who was one of the original like investors in Microsoft and in a different other companies back then, he took his own life, and he did it in that house. So that was the reason he said that this house had lots of stuff going on in it. But I remember thinking back then, and I was a teenager, thinking, oh my gosh, why would you take your life if you just because your money disappeared, right? But I could see it. If you have a whole family depending on you, like, especially when you grow up and you have all of your own kids and everything else, I would never do it myself, but I could see how somebody could have, just their whole nest egg just disappear overnight, and then have bills and debts and all of these other things, and then go, oh my gosh, like it pretty much pulls the rug from out under you, right? I'm sure some of you have stories just like that in your family and have lost people because of that. But that 2008, yeah, I guess that would be close. For some people, it would probably be worse. Russia's central bank boss has issued a warning that the country's wartime economy is at risk of overheating. And they're essentially saying that Russia's sanctions hit economy has appeared unusually resilient nearly 22 months into its war with Ukraine, but it may be just running too hot. So, mind you, our media has told you this whole time that all these sanctions just totally rocked their world. Yet there were tons of signs and experts that were in support of the sanctions, saying, yeah, they were admitting, they're like, these sanctions didn't work as well as we thought they were going to work. And they also said, yeah, it seems like Russia's actually doing really well. And that is because of different relationships and different things that they did after the sanctions that they worked out with China and other countries. The crappy part about this is when the sanctions and all these things hit, you just now forced Russia to make all of these really tight-knit connections with everybody else. But it says, in fact, Russia's economy runs a risk of overheating, warned Elvira Nubilina, the country's central bank governor, as she hiked the country's key interest rate to 16% last Friday, according to official transcript. It says the economy is expanding so rapidly because it's using almost all of its resources available, said Nabulina, Mr. Bob Dabalina. A stubborn high inflation is evidence that the economy is deviated from its potential and lacks capacities to meet the soaring demand. Russia reported 5.5% GDP growth in the third quarter of this year, reversing a 3.5% decline in the same period last year, while unemployment has hit a record low as many have left the country or are fighting the war. Or they might have jobs because of the war. Who knows? But the way that Western media is stating it is that they run a risk of running too hot. But basically, they're doing okay. So I guess it's better for us to look at it like, oh, Russia's failing right now. At least our tax dollars are making Russia feel bad, right? At least all of those billions of dollars of tax dollars have gone towards screwing over Russia. Sure, that makes some people feel better. If it's true, if they're doing really well and Ukraine hasn't really taken much ground and billions of dollars have been added to our national debt, and it's going to affect each and every one of us. They said before a lot of these donations to their country that every American citizen would pay, it would roughly equal about $11,000 per taxpayer. Not too fun. And then exclusive UFO caught on camera hovering over Air Force One at LAX during JB's fundraising trip to Los Angeles. Dex, do you think it was a UFO or do you think it was something else? I'm wondering.
Well, it's definitely an unidentified object. But yeah, they've described it as everything from a metal orb to, and it could be, some people say it's an alien probe or just merely a balloon at the time. Could have even been a drone for that matter. But if you look at these pictures, there's a couple of spots where it was seen in two different pictures, one hovering in front or captured, I should say, in front. It was probably hovering as it was described by others. And then another picture as it passes that area. It certainly could be a balloon for that matter. But at the same time, you got to ask that question because this is a very important plane, no matter if you like them or don't like them. That's the POTUS, and it's probably one of the most secure flights and most important flights that is in the air at that time.
That is weird. The shadow on it looks round. It looks like an orb. It looks genuinely like a floating ball. Is it just a balloon? Is it something that's being trailed behind the plane? But why would it just suddenly appear? Because right here, there's nothing. In this image, there's nothing. And then all of a sudden, boom, you've got some sort of orb. Did it catch the light right and its camouflage system turned off or something? It's freaking weird. Here it is on the left side. And what is this one? This is this is when they stepped off. Kind of weird. Why did they hold the umbrella like that? Nice leather jacket. Go ahead, Dex.
Yeah, one of the eyewitnesses there said he saw what appeared to be LAPD helicopters circling near where that object was. So it makes you wonder if they weren't, if others saw it and knew it and something was up with it and they wanted to check it out. And then it also makes you wonder, we've got all sorts of new technology, and a lot of times, a lot of people have speculated that these orbs that we're seeing are either coming from an adversary, new technology from, say, China or Russia or someone else. I don't know anybody else that would probably have that kind of capability, but it could also be ours. And I wondered if it's, something new that we're doing, just undisclosed.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Doc Papadopoulos says it's Hunter smoking his peace pipe. 3 orbs and you disappear. Think Tesla 369. Awake and aware. Countdown to my birthday, 5 more days. Hey, well, happy birthday soon. Awake and aware. Woman of Wonder, prayers for anyone who's lost a beloved one, took their own life. That type of loss is so devastating. I agree. Team Alaska says, I totally agree with Dex. Bobby Sue Fry, Sheldon Bosch, Texas Mama Bear, whatever forever. When prices went up much during CV, someone gifted us and then we needed to finish our home. No mortgage. Be patient and trust God. He does provide. Texas Mama Bear, that's amazing. So during CV, you didn't have enough to do it, and it just happened. That's pretty awesome. I agree with that as well. Mana and everybody else. And thank you, Woman of Wonder. I just want to confirm, since your name is there, I did get your Christmas video. And then I remember Matt Hansen too. Matt Hansen. I know for sure right off the top of my head. I remembered yours because of the thing you were holding. It was pretty cool. And then if you do want to get your video in, please get it in right away. It's very easy. I was trying to... Oh, and Miss Dragon got yours too. Very, very cool. I can't wait to show everybody all of the Christmas videos. If you want to get that Christmas video in, make sure to just take a 15-second video saying Merry Christmas, a message to the Foogle fam or Marfia, and of course, then upload it to YouTube. If you have a chat, then you have a YouTube. All you have to do is hit the little plus sign at the bottom of the app and make a video. You don't have to have, any fancy phone or anything. Just whatever you are doing YouTube with, and upload a 15-second video saying Merry Christmas. And then go to play my video on marfooglenews.com. It's that easy. Once you upload it to YouTube, it makes it very easy for you to go to play my video, because then you just put the link in, boom, you're done. Dex, go ahead.
I just wanted to say all the others that have sent them in, we do have them. So some of you have sent them over and over again, but I didn't want you to think that it's just who Adam said. There's a lot of you, so we've got them all.
Yeah,
don't panic because he didn't say your name.
Those are just off the top of my head. Those are the ones that stuck out to me, or for one reason or the other. And then let's see here. Lori Steck, thank you. Oh, wow. You survived almost taking yourself out. I'm sure there's probably a lot more people that, and that's brave for you to say it. A lot of people would never tell that kind of thing. I'm sure there's people out there that have thought about it and are going through rough times right now. But I will say this: there's light on the other side of the light on the other side, or the grass is greener. Well, I would just say this: there's always tomorrow, and we should try to realize that things get really, really hard. You just got to keep going, and that there's always good around the corner. And Michigan Lifestyle, nice to see you, and good night. And then Awake and Aware. Truth Iris, nice to see you as well. And from pools to bowling alleys inside the bunkers, while billionaires will ride out the apocalypse. So, in fact, we're going to work on something here coming up soon. Bunkers are fascinating, and I'm pretty sure that most of you have seen these just uber elite bunkers, and you're like, oh my gosh. I would live in those right now. I mean, look at the pictures, some of these. But it says Mark Zuckerberg is building a 5,000 square foot doomsday bunker in this sprawling Hawaii compound. Surprising? Not really. He's far from the only billionaire living in fear of what they call the event. Okay, just so creepy in the way that it was wrote there. I'm sorry. In fear of what they all call the event. It brings me back couple articles when they said a black sky event, right? Will it be global environmental breakdown, societal collapse, probably accelerated by the technology some of them built, nuclear war? Who knows? All cheery thoughts, especially at Christmas, but the fact is that doomsday prepping is no longer the domain of a fringe faction storing 10 years worth of baked beans in their garden sheds. Prepping is big business, and the billionaires aren't being stingy. Mr. Zuckerberg's combined bunker and compound is expected to cost a cool combined $270 million. That's right. $270 million.
Okay.
Million. Just wanted to extend that echo a little bit further. Peter Thiel, the co-founder of PayPal and controversial libertarian, is still trying to get planning permission for his own bunker-style lodge on New Zealand's South Island. And it's public knowledge. Like, Peter Thiel First of all, New Zealand has always been talked about, chattered about in our community as like where the rich are going to go. Mind you, they would have to have warning, and they would have to have the opportunity, if they're not in New Zealand when it happens, to be able to get to New Zealand. There's also a thought that there's all these different disasters that experts say that New Zealand or possibly Australia, that these places will somehow survive when nowhere else on the earth is. Now, I don't know how they came to that conclusion. I think it's because of the odds and the chances and the numbers of how it works out. Like if a disaster happens here, that will be safe. If it hits here, then blah, blah, blah. I'm sure it won't be safe if an asteroid hits New Zealand directly, but because of the geographical area and everything else, that people are going to be safe. But I told you years ago, there was a trucker that I talked to that talked about the underground dumbs and things like that. Said that New Zealand was the spot that all these people were going to go, and that they had long-term plans to build there. It said Elon Musk plans for the event are unknown, although it's fair to say his first choice would probably be fleeing to Mars. But with Starship continuing to blow up, for now he'll be stuck on Earth with the rest of us. Yeah, like they use a stock photo of his like master plan photo of like what Mars will look like, right? But it says in an anonymous interview with a renowned writer theorist Douglas Rushkoff, 5 of the world's richest men from the worlds of tech and investing revealed their concerns for when the inevitable happens. One of which was keeping their own security staff loyal. This is actually what I talked about, Dex. Do you remember this? So there was
Exactly.
This gentleman who was hired, paid him over $1 million. They said, "Hey, you're doing this speech. You're going to talk in front of all these people, right?" He goes there thinking he's going to talk to a huge crowd. He gets there, and to his surprise, he's getting paid this just giant amount of money not to talk to a huge stadium of people or to a huge event hall, but they're like, "Oh, you're going to go in that room, a small room with about 5 people, and you're going to talk to them, and they're going to ask you a bunch of questions about prep. You're not even going to talk. They're going to just ask you a bunch of questions." And 5 of the richest names in the world were in there, and they were asking all these questions. And this was one of the big questions, and this is, I've talked about this many times, was how do you keep your staff loyal? If you have a hired staff, you're paying, and you might be paying them exorbitant amounts of money, but what's to stop them if money has no value? How are you going to keep them from saying, well, I'm just going to take this bunker, right? Because you may have more money than them, but if money is absolutely useless and there's no use for cash, then what's stopping the security from just taking your house? In fact, what's from keeping them from just going off and going somewhere else? Well, it's a huge problem. It says problems of the 0.1%. The rest of us will no doubt have to suffer through the consequences, whether it's a deadly heat, a nuclear winter, or the complete breakdown of society, Mad Max style. But if you want to see where you could be spending the apocalypse if you were a billionaire, a number of companies are already offering bunkers for sale. In the case of luxury bunker builder Terra Vivos, advertised as away from riots, violence, targets, and submersion zones. Now, mind you, these companies offer these crazy services. Like, this is so over the top. Like, we can't even imagine this. Imagine when something goes down, you have armored cars pick you up with army military men, and they escort you like you're the president. This is what they pay over the top. They would have a convoy come pick you up with vehicles that could roll right over cars if they had to. Or you can even be picked up in a tank. This is no joke. You can be picked up in a tank to get to an airport, to a private secure airport that's protected by military men, and then go fly to your private bunker. These are all some of the crazy plans that are already in place. And the regular people down on our level, everybody's just so busy just trying to get to their next paycheck. We're not really thinking about this. But my big question is why the richest people in the world are all doing this. And it's all of them. I would be, if you showed me a billionaire that doesn't have a bunker, I would show you a billionaire that is lying. With all of the billionaires we absolutely know for a fact are building these things, You ask yourself, with the information they have, with the people that they know, why would they do that unless there was a chance of something happening? Some say, oh, well, they're just overly paranoid. They're scared of us, right? I don't think they're scared of us. To be honest, I think that they have complete control over the majority of people. So why would they be scared? Unless they knew about something or helped plan something, who knows? But it says some are more luxurious than others. Think pool versus bunk beds, but all are no doubt more than most of us can afford. Some of the pictures in this are absolutely just insane. Some of these places, look at like a place like this, right? Underground pool with an area that looks like you're outside. And very well, there's some of the big ones that we've heard about, and this is some Foogle fam have worked on these places. This, for an example, somebody gave me an example of imagine a Costco, super, super big, but the ceiling and the roofs are all made up to look like the sky. And it's that tall. It's 50, 60, 70-foot ceilings. So, and this is on top of being underground 30, 50, 100, 200 feet, 1,000 feet. And they're in a building like this that is completely underground. So the regular place that they live in, you look out the window, you actually see bushes, you see all of this stuff. You look out and you see like a Truman Show type sky. This all exists right now. And not only does it exist, the demand for this has gone up in the thousands of percents. Why? That's the question I have for all of you. Is it because nothing's going to happen? And all of the skeptics want to go, you're just scaring people. Really? Well, why are the billionaires doing it? Just to spend some extra money and say they have a cool slide that goes from their office into their bunker? Maybe. But I would think that they would know a little bit something. Dex, as far as these super uber bunkers, have you ever thought of like maybe us and a bunch of friends, we could find one of these things and somehow take out the rich people and call it our own, like, and leave the world behind. Maybe we'll get lucky. We'll just come across one that's just open. I don't think that's going to be the case though.
Yeah, no, I'm not interested in taking anybody out. But yeah, it would be cool to like maybe visit one of these and see it. But I don't know if that'd even be cool because it's nothing that's ever going to be attainable by all of us common folk. We're left for our own devices, and that probably includes like getting at best a small hole in the ground or what do you call it, one of those containers and burying it. So I know a lot of people have made their own bug outs, and they're probably very comfy. I've seen a lot of cool ones that are affordable and in the the price range of the common man, so to speak. But this stuff's just over the top, ridiculous.
We actually have Bones and Rip Curl. Bones says that he's actually drove through these in Kansas, through the underground tunnels in Kansas and Springfield, Missouri. Yeah, if you don't know, Bones actually has content. You can find it on marfooglenews.com/friends. But he is a truck driver, and he's been all over the country. As far as I have no doubt that the underground tunnel systems are real. There's no doubt. There's evidence. There's tons of evidence. There's tons of testimony. In fact, it's a fact that they have underground places where they store things. The rumor, the speculation that nobody can confirm, but we pretty much have, is that they are all connected, that all of these states are connected. If you look at Elon Musk's other company, the Boring Company, they have the technology to make these Hyperloop tunnels, and you think that they're not doing that for the government? Why are they getting these giant contracts, which you see like they're doing Hyperloop for Las Vegas, right? But how is that company pulling in these huge amounts of money and we don't actually see what they're building with it, right? Makes you wonder. But as far as bunkers, are any of you planning on building a bunker, even if it's obviously not going to be a luxurious one? Do any of you have the interest to get a bunker? And then Biden pardons certain marijuana offenses, grants clemency to 11 nonviolent drug offenders. It's that time of the term where they start doing their pardons and different things like that. President JB announced Friday that he was granting clemency to nearly a dozen people who have been serving long prison sentences for nonviolent drug offenses. The president also announced that he was signing a proclamation to pardon certain marijuana offenses, building on action he took back in 2022 to pardon thousands of Americans who had been convicted of simple marijuana possession. America was founded on the principles of equal justice under law. Elected officials on both sides of the aisle, faith leaders, civil rights advocates, and law enforcement leaders agree that our criminal justice system can and should reflect this core value that makes our communities safer and stronger. That is why today I am announcing additional steps that I am taking to make the promise of equal justice a reality. And then it also adds, then he turned around towards the press and repeated it. Just kidding. Of the 11 people who will have their sentences commuted, some of them were convicted to decades or even life in prison for crack cocaine-related offenses. Like, do you not realize there's videos of him back in the day saying, if you have a little tiny rock this big, we're going to send you to prison for 20 years. And now he's the one helping pardon them. I don't know. I guess his views changed. Maybe he had some personal life experience with it or something, and it gave him some depth on the whole situation. All of them would have been eligible to receive significantly lower sentences if they were charged with the same offense today. That is true. Heck, if you're in Portland, everything's decriminalized, and it's actually been really good for the city. It's Portland, Oregon is a beautiful city. Just don't go there alone in the day or night without protection of every kind. And if you haven't already, make sure to go check out Harvest Right. These during CV were extremely hard to get, and during any kind of disaster, they have basically dried up completely. It's definitely something that you would want to get during an off time when we are not going through some sort of disaster. During CV, when everybody wanted one of these, it was incredible. People were scalping them. They were buying up multiple of them so they could resell them for 5-10 times as much. Right now, they are actually at discount. You can get $300 off on the Pro models, and they definitely are one of the best freeze dryers on the market. It is an investment, but especially if you are trying to get up a huge amount of food built up, if you want to have the recommended 6 months to a year of food, and say you have a big family, this is actually the more cost-effective way to do that. It's not going to be cost-effective for everybody, but especially if you are trying to do bulk food, this is the cheapest way to do it, as far as it costs about a quarter of the price of buying pre-packaged freeze-dried foods. Once you invest in the system, this is a system that's built to last. It is built with quality in mind, and of course with ease of use. It's very, very easy to use, and it actually is a very big hobby. A lot of people, once they start doing it, they get obsessed with it because there are so many different things you can freeze dry. And then once you freeze dry it, you can keep it upwards of 25 years. If you have a garden, this is an awesome thing because you can preserve almost everything instead of it going to waste and rotting away. You can freeze dry your own food in Mylar bags. You can freeze dry your own dietary restrictions. You can pick whatever you want. You can also get food on the cheap and essentially be very, very picky about the food you do, and then freeze dry it and keep it for a very long time. Most freeze-dried companies, they may not have the kind of food that you want, or they may not have the exact requirements you have for your diet. So this is a really great way to do it, and it's something you want to do yesterday rather than tomorrow. The price on freeze-dried food has tripled in the last 3 years, so it is pretty awesome to be able to provide and to be able to make your own. So go to marfooglenews.com/freeze if you would like to check them out. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/freeze. make sure to use that link. And of course, you will get an awesome discount and you'll be helping our channel at the same time. Dex, do you want to let people know how they can get to the website?
Absolutely. Just open up the description down below. Look for the show notes link. It's the first link. It's right there. It'll take you right to this page with everything that we just covered, all the links and sources, including extra articles if we add them in along the show. Anything that you need, it's right there. Also, the rest of our links are down below in that description. So if you're looking for them, you forget, just go there. Otherwise, go to marfooglenews.com. You can find everything there. Got a search box. We've got all of the shows archived. And of course, if you're looking for today's show, just look for the thumbnail. It's very easy to see. It's a visual setup. Just click on the thumbnail and it'll take you to this page.
Thank you for your service tonight, Dex. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job. And Merry Christmas, everyone. Hope everybody has a happy holiday and a safe one, too.
Merry Christmas, guys. We'll see you on Tuesday after Christmas. I may do some videos in between. But so stay tuned to Marfoogle News and to Marfoogle TV. Our other channel is very difficult to find now. All you have to do to find our other channel, if you're on YouTube, is type in the @sign, all one word, @MFN, and you'll find it right away. That is our direct handle. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
Sun is out and it's nice out, but will it be so nice now with the lights out? Everybody gonna fight now. World's gonna say 2 words right now. Sun is out and it's nice out, but will it be so nice now with the lights out? Everybody gonna fight now. World's gonna say 2 words right now. Sun is out and it's nice out, but will it be so nice now with the lights out? Everybody gonna fight now. World's gonna say 2 words right now. Sun is out and it's nice out.
I want to say a very big thank you to Julie Pilkerton. Stephen McMahon says, Merry Christmas to all of you. Love and peace to all. Team Alaska, thank you so much for your support. And A.E. Kutu says, a company owned by Dean Kamen is paying me to go to school for biofabrication, the making of organs and proteins for use in humans. Lilith sent me. Hey, thank you. Or Letith sent me. Thank you so much. And AE, I'm so glad you're here. Right place, right time. Something. We'll all be fine. Julie Pilkerton.
Lights out, everybody gonna fight now. World's gonna say 2 words right now. Sun is out and it's nice out, but will it be so nice now with the lights out? Everybody gonna fight now. World's gonna say 2 words right now.
Thank you so much to Beer Juice, to Johnson, to Karen from Columbus, Just Jim, Hey Adam, Dex, and everyone, Merry Christmas, Kimbria, Holiday Kisser, Biblical Smackdown. Thank you, and thank you.
World's gonna say 2 words right now. Sun is out and it's nice out, but will it be so nice now? Rob Nose in the captain, the banner. Everybody, a la la. With a dog, baba, a baba double.